has no passport. His mother is here, his family is here, as they have been here almost every day of the trial, as the court knows. And certainly we can structure a bond, including GPS and house arrest if necessary, which is the most restrictive. But at least give him an opportunity for bond, because he is presumed innocent. And there's no way in heck the state, based upon the lack of the verdict, they can carry their burden of proof evidence presumption with.
So that's the procedure. You know, hey, maybe we should get a bond here. Our client's been in custody, but we want, so how does that happen? You got to have some major changed circumstances. And the question for the court is, have there been any that would justify Jamell Demons getting it on bond as he's awaiting his second trial in probably 3 weeks if the date sticks? That's the deal. That's the discussion. Did he rule? No. Judge took it under advisement, which I think is kind of a chicken way out. But it's, you know, come on, what, you have to think about this for a long time? The presumption is tremendous that he is staying incarcerated because it's a death penalty case. Anyway, Catherine Lizardo is still here with me, and joining us, we have Bob Motta, Mr. Defense Diaries himself, criminal defense attorney from Chicago. Thanks, Bob, for joining. Thanks, Catherine, for sticking around. So, Bob, are you surprised that they would make this request? Or maybe I should say, would you be surprised if it's granted?
I would be surprised if it was granted for the exact reason you said. It's a death penalty case. You don't get out on bond on a death penalty case. It's just, it doesn't happen. You know, plus it's so close to trial. I mean, theoretically, could the trial get kicked? Yes. But I mean, we're what, 3-4 weeks out from it? I mean, he's going to have to suck it up, stay in there. Like, I agree. I think the judges should have ruled. I mean, every judge I've ever been in front of would have ruled immediately and said denied.
Yeah, I don't understand. I mean, maybe that's just his way. You know, so there are some judges, I've seen them, that they never rule from the bench, ever. And like I said, I think it's kind of a chicken thing. So, Catherine, you know, if this trial does go on the date now set, it's about 3 weeks. I understand him wanting to get out, because wouldn't you rather at the end of the long day at trial go home than go back to jail? I get that. I do. I just wonder if this was maybe part to make the client think you're doing everything you can, make the client's family understand you're doing everything you can, even if you know deep down this is not likely.
I think so, that there is a lot of motivation of the lawyer to do this because of his family. I remember when the trial was going on, his mom was very vocal as to how Jamell Demons actually had 23 hours of isolation and only 1 hour to go out of his cell, and how he's been incarcerated for about 4 years awaiting trial, and now he has to wait some more because of the hung jury. 3 weeks compared to the 4 years he's been there, you know, really would tell you that the judge should have just ruled in denying the request for bond. Also, Jamell Demons is, you know, even though he's in jail, he's still wealthy. He has resources. He even released one of his albums while he was still in jail. So he has a lot of resources to disappear if he's ever granted a bond and allowed to go home.
Yep, and flight risk always an issue there. So yeah, I think at the hearing the judge should have just ripped the Band-Aid right off. Just, you know, just get it over with, then move on. So they are going to move on. So Bob, they got a new trial coming up. We know the jury was angsting over this, could not come to a decision, and we know that the two theories were Demons did it, killed his friends for some reason, maybe money, maybe gang reputation, or it was a drive-by that he had nothing to do with. So how do you, you know, as a defense attorney, you know, hung jury is pretty good. It's not an all-out win, but pretty good. What would you do differently in this case if you're handling the defense?
Not much. I thought that they did enough to get that hung jury. You know, I mean, like you said, it's always the state's burden, obviously, and it's a tough case for the state. It really is. I mean, that's evident. You know, I mean, when you had, what, I think it was a 9-3 count in favor of guilt. You know, I mean, 3 people is a lot. You know, I mean, I'm typically like hoping for one if I'm trying to get a hung. Like three, you know, you did some things right. You created enough doubt in at least three of the jurors' minds where they weren't comfortable, you know, moving forward, especially in light of the fact that it's a death penalty case. I think, in my honest opinion, I think if the state takes that off the table, they'll get a conviction on it. I think with that hanging out there and those types of, you know, that ultimate conclusion, I think that might have scared jurors off.
Yeah, that's interesting. And, you know, so Catherine, the question then becomes, will a jury go over that, where those three jurors in this case say, yeah, you know, he's guilty, because they know there's no chance they have to then decide whether or not to put him to death?
Yes, it would make it, you know, for a lack of a better word, maybe easier to convict him without the death penalty. If I was the defense attorneys here, maybe one thing that I'll focus on more is put the reasonable doubt as to whether the friend, Henry, was the one who was the shooter here. At the trial, there were some speculation as to who really shot the victims, whether it was Melly or it was Henry. Henry was the one who brought the two decedent, the two victims, to the hospital and was saying that it was a drive-by. And Melly is claiming that he was not there during the shooting. So maybe they can point more on that suspicion that it's the other friend who did it.
Yeah, the Cortlen Bortlen dynamic is definitely an issue here, and it is Cortlen Henry, but Bortlen because he's in the Bloods group, so they take the C off. But anyway, so that's part of the mix here. He was, I believe, set for trial later next month as well. So there may be some shenanigans going on to determine. We know they're not going to be tried together. They're not going to unsever the trials. They're not going to rejoin them. But there may be some issues about presentation of the cases and who wants to go first and what the implications might be for some of that finger pointing you talk about there, Catherine. So we will continue to watch this and we'll just see if the judge decides at some point whether to deny a bond, which is what we